So the Fear Street trilogy has finally come out on Netflix, and I watched all three of them, so I thought why not rank the movies from worst to best and kind of give my thoughts about the series in general. Now before I start, I want to say just because I have a movie placed at third, that doesn't mean I didn't like the movie. I actually liked all of these movies. I really enjoyed them. A really refreshing take on horror, and I think this is about to start something new. I feel a franchise brewing with Fear Street because R.L. Stine made like 8,000 of these books, so I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix decides to make more of these movies. But for now, this is the Sarah Fear trilogy, so let's talk about that. So coming in at number 3, we have the first movie, Fear Street Part 1, 1994. I actually really enjoyed this film. I love the colors, the loud music. It really is the 90s. Now, they could have done a little bit better capturing the 90s, but I thought it was pretty good for what they did. Now, what I did love about this movie is that you didn't really know what was going on going in. If you hadn't read the Fear Street books, you really didn't know what was going to happen when you watched this movie. I didn't read the R.L. Stine books, so when I watched this first movie, I had no idea what was going on. So I think it had the most suspense out of the three because you didn't know what to expect. You didn't know the characters, you didn't know Sarah Fear, you didn't know all those killers. When you saw the first killer at the beginning of the movie, you're like, okay, they're going to do that. But then you see another killer and another killer. You're like, oh my god, this is so cool. This is so different. And I love that so much. And all three killers were so brutal and horrific in their own way. The kills are also the most inventive out of the three. I enjoyed all of them. There's such a large variety, and I love that about a horror movie. You get stabs with knives, you get axe kills, then you get fires in the bathroom, then you get that cake slicing one. Oh my god, that's probably the most brutal kill I've ever seen in a long time. Can you imagine just being put through that? That was awful. That's such a horrific way for her character to go, but chef's kiss in terms of gore if you like that stuff. That was brutal. I was like, oh my god, also really cool. So I thought that was awesome when watching Fear Street Part 1. What I didn't like about Fear Street 94, and the reason why it is the third out of the three movies, is I don't like the characters. I think the characters got a lot better as the movies went on, but man, this first movie, they were really annoying. They made a lot of dumb mistakes. I understand it's a horror movie cliche to have like characters make dumb mistakes, but come on, they make some really bad mistakes. I feel like at the end of the movie, you know, when they decide, okay, she needs to eat these pills and die so that way Sarah Fear can stop chasing us. I don't get why they stayed there at the pharmacy. That made no sense to me. Why not just get the pills you need, get a couple of bottles of waters, then get in the car and just keep driving while you do all that? The reason why is because every time they drove, that has literally been the entire time that the killers haven't even come close to them. Like, those killers cannot reach them when they're driving full speed. So I don't get why they didn't just get in the car, take the pills with them, get a couple bottles of water, anything you need, and then just drive away. You don't have to stay there and try and face off against those three killers. You're not going to win. So I definitely disagreed with that. That was a really dumb mistake, in my opinion, that they did. Look, overall, it was a really nice start for the Fear Street trilogy. I actually really enjoyed this movie, but a lot of annoying characters, a lot of dumb characters, and that big act at the end where you decide to stay there at the pharmacy. It created the cool cake slicing kill, whatever, the meat slicing kill, but it just, in reality, you would just take the pills and get in the car. So that really held it back for me. So that's why Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is at number 3. All right, number 2 is the latest movie in the trilogy, Fear Street Part 3, 1666. This was the final movie of the trilogy, like I just said, and I was so hyped for this because I really wanted to see how are they going to wrap up this story. Now, this movie, based on the trailers, is a little bit misleading because it says Fear Street Part 3, 1666, but the first half of the movie is 1666, and then the title card shows, and it shows Fear Street 1994 Part 2, so it really is 2 movies into one. Now, I had no problem with that. I think that's really cool because it shows some tonal shifts, and it kind of keeps you engaged in the movie. The old-timey part, it's very interesting, but, you know, it can get a little boring if you're not into the storyline aspect of the Fear Street trilogy. Out of the 3, this one has the best performances. I think all the characters have grown so much. You know, I'm actually interested to see what the filming schedule was like, because these movies came out like 1 to 2 weeks apart, so they made these way in advance. So I definitely think that the actors put on their best performances in this third movie. You feel all the emotion. You really feel for the characters and really are attached to them by this third movie. So it was really acted well, really great performances all around. I also think the story is very well done, weaving in the modern storytelling of 94 and obviously Sarah Fear's time. This movie focuses way more on the origin and storyline aspect. It doesn't really focus on the kill. So if you're a fan of gore and stuff, there's some in it, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it mainly is a story-driven driven movie, which I actually really liked. I actually like horror movies that focus more on the story than on the kills. It kind of adds another layer to horror movies to make them more deep and emotional and complex. I also thought the twist of this movie was really good. Pun intended, because you find out that Sheriff Good and his entire family are the reason this is happening. So it turns out Sarah Fier is innocent, and that Solomon Good, Sheriff Good's ancestor, made a deal with the devil to make their life and their family have the best of times, but to sacrifice somebody every few years, to make them go on a killing spree while they live a good life. So I thought that was a really good twist. I thought that was very well done. I couldn't believe it. I thought there was something off about Sheriff Good, but not to the point where he struck a deal with the devil. That was crazy. Not what I expected at all, but I thought it was a very well done twist. Now, where this movie falters, and I actually have some nitpicky things that I need to talk about. So I was so hyped to see the very first victim, that preacher, with the eyes gouged out. They showed that in all the trailers and all the movies about how he was the first one, and he looked so intimidating. So I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the origin of this. This is terrifying. This has a chance to be an iconic looking villain that could be a new pop culture thing. But they only showed him for 2 minutes. They showed the preacher making a couple jokes at the kids, oh, that's it. It was a joke about him being blind to the Bible or something like that. But then next thing you know, 8 scenes later, he's now entranced, and then it shows him at the church with no eyes and all the kids he killed with no eyes. But there's no suspense to that. It's just they come in and you just see it, and that's it. That's the end of him. They kill him and that's it. I thought that was such a letdown. I thought they could have done so much more with that character, showing him, more as the normal person before he starts, his downhill spiral into that murderous person. So I thought it was definitely a letdown. I wanted to see way more of that preacher. It's such a unique look. It's very difficult these days for a horror movie killer or villain to stand out. And this stood out in my opinion. And the fact that they didn't utilize it enough, God, it really sucked. I also have a problem with the final fight. Now, it's choreographed very well. I like the plan they had. But in my opinion, from a script perspective, if this is the final battle, if this is the evil villain, Good, the devil trying to go all out to stop these kids from killing them, why are you only sending 6 killers? You saw this curse has been going on for over 300 years, and you see at least 100 to 200 names on there. Why are you only sending 5 of them? You know what I mean? I thought it would have been a great look aesthetically if you see all the villains slowly coming into the mall. I thought that would have been so cool and a really great way to show that one final battle, trying to keep them from coming in. But instead, you only send 5 of them. And it's the same killers that we've been seeing throughout the entirety of the trilogy. So I thought it was kind of a letdown. I thought with it being the final movie in the trilogy, the thing is, I think because all these movies were filmed in advance, they didn't really see what they had coming. I think if they filmed the first movie, then they were okay, let's start production. I think the budget would have gotten bigger and better, and maybe they could have done that for the third movie. But they didn't, and I thought it was really a waste, because I really wanted to see more of those killers that the devil possessed. The big baddie at the end, like I said, the twist is that Sheriff Good is the bad guy. Once he's revealed, I didn't feel like he was a dangerous villain. I really didn't. He didn't give off a crazy vibe. He just was talking as if hey, yeah, this is what we do. So I didn't really get that big bad villain vibe from him. I thought it was kind of a letdown, because the final battle with them, you thought it was going to be something crazy. Not really. Just going through tunnels and talking. I just didn't feel that final battle climactic event. So I thought that was kind of a letdown, because I thought the twist was very well done. But Sheriff Good is just not that strong of a character to kind of execute it and make you scared of him. Because honestly, I wasn't scared of Sheriff Good at all once he was revealed. And if you didn't know, this movie does have a post-credit scene. It shows the devil book, that stuff, and then it shows somebody taking it away. So that is opening up a chance for Netflix to take advantage and make way more of these movies. Because like I said, R.L. Stine made 8,762 Fear Street books. So I'm pretty sure Netflix is going to make more of these, because these have been really highly rated, greatly reviewed. People are loving them. People are watching them. So yeah, I expect more Fear Street movies. Yeah, but overall, I thought the conclusion of this movie is really good. I thought it was way better than 1994, because I love the story-driven aspect, and I really liked the kind of weaving of Sarah Fier's origins and the conclusion. So I thought that was very well done, but obviously I did have some problems in the final act. So that is why Fear Street 1666 is number 2. But of course, coming in at number 1 is the second movie, Fear Street 1978. I loved this movie. This one is so much fun. Now, for those of you that don't know, slashers are my favorite type of horror ever. I love Halloween. Halloween is my favorite horror franchise of all time. I love Friday the 13th. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. I love slasher films. They're just so much fun, and it really is a lost art. So the fact that they were bringing back that type of movie, I was so excited to see that killer go in at a camp. I definitely think when R.L. Stine was writing these books, he was trying to homage to Jason Voorhees, because if you look at the killer, I mean, he looks like Sackhead Jason from Part 2, but he's got the aggressiveness and just non-stop go, 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 like Derek Mears in the reboot in 2009. So I thought it was the best of both worlds. I love the look of the villain. I love how he's just a tank, like non-stop, I'm gonna kill you. If there's a door, bang, slash it down, like no time to stop and think, just go, go, go. I thought it was easily the most terrifying out of all the villains so far. He was so cool and absolutely terrifying. I would not want to go against him because he is literally just a non-stop bullet, and yeah, no, I don't want to deal with him. I definitely enjoyed the characters. I think I like these characters the most out of the three. Even, it definitely is a love letter to 70s, 80s, 90s slasher flicks. I really think that, because when you look at these movies, you have characters that you absolutely hate, but then as the movie goes on, you start to see these layers starting to come off, and that you see more emotion with them about how they hate Shadyside and they cope with it in different ways. I thought that was a really nice twist. It added a new layer to possible One Dimension characters, and it made you feel for them. I think out of all three movies, I felt the most for these characters. I really did, because I felt bad for them because they were trying to be something they're not, or they're trying to do something different, but they're all just trying to cope with their own method of staying in Shadyside, and I really liked that aspect. I also liked the feeling that nobody was safe in this movie. That's very difficult to do for a horror movie, because we've watched so many horror movies have come out, so you already kind of see a formula. You're like, oh, he's gonna live, she's gonna die, she's gonna die, she's gonna live. So the fact that this movie had me feeling that, oh my god, I think everybody's gonna die, I thought that was a really nice thing to do. I thought it created more suspense, because at the end of the first movie, they set it up by saying, hey, to go forward, we first need to go back by finding out with C. Berman what happened to her at that camp. How did this all start? So I thought that was really cool. So you knew for sure one person was gonna live. But other than that, everybody else is fair game, and I thought that was so cool, and it really created suspense and surprise when certain people died and certain people lived. I actually really didn't have any problems with this movie. I think probably the only thing, if I'm being nitpicky, is just axe kills, like axe. I sound like Big Sean right now. No, he was just constant axe kills, and it's fine. I thought it was really cool. They were really up close and personal. I mean, you saw him putting axes through people's faces. I've never seen it that overt before, like showing the face being destroyed by an axe. I've never seen that before. So I thought that was really cool, but obviously it's kind of like Scream, where Scream just has knife kills. The second movie is really just more axe kills, nothing really creative like the first movie. So that is kind of a nitpicky thing for me, but honestly, I don't care. I love the kills. I think they're really brutal. It definitely is the most rewatchable out of the three, in my opinion. I just love the setting of a camp, counselors, and one killer. You're all alone. It kind of has that, claustrophobia aspect. Even though it's a wide camp, you just feel like the walls are closing in. I love that setting and that tone for this movie. And again, the kills are brutal. The killer is unbelievably brutal, so cool, and I actually really like the characters, and it advanced the story in such a way that, even if you didn't get a third movie, you actually would be pretty fine with how this movie ended. If it was just a standalone, it could be its own standalone movie, which is really cool. But the fact that it was part of a trilogy and a great bridging movie to set up the ending was really well done, but I definitely think this movie was the most rewatchable out of the three. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.